Pranamakaye Kidadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Bhaktaya Namo. Namaste, Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So today's topic is prayer, mercy and justice. Some interesting questions. We're just going to introduce the topic today. I'll try not to speak for too long. So, two people are praying to the Lord, maybe even on the opposite side of a battlefield, maybe even they're both Christian. Oh God, please help me kill the other person. Help me be victorious. Another person's praying for health, praying for wealth, praying for so many things. So, there's three questions I'd like to explore a little bit today. Who hears our prayers? Is God partial? Does he lean toward, does he have any favoritism? And is this universe just? The great theologians of various traditions have pondered over these things for millennia. And there's quite some varying opinion amongst the different theologians of the different religions. And we can see, perhaps in our own experience, one person prays to God and their life goes very nicely. And then another person, they may be praying or they may be even endeavouring so much in the service of God, and they appear to have so many challenges. So sometimes, even when we look around, we see so much apparent injustice in the world. And it's a real struggle for many people. So we want to look at this topic a little bit today. So let's look at some thoughts of various thinkers in different religions. So first of all, ancient Greece with Plato. So his definition of God is actually quite ambiguous. And one definition of God he has is God is good. The divine principle of good in cosmic order, that is God. So justice in cosmic order. This is some of Plato's conception. And then Aristotle, he has the conception of the unmoved mover. So in this analogy, God is like a watchmaker. So God makes the watch, he winds it up, and then he puts it on the mantelpiece and he doesn't touch it anymore. It's not involved. God is not emotionally involved. And he's the unmoved mover. Even his awareness is not moving, because if his awareness was moving, then he'd be moving. So he actually has no direct relational participation with the world in the conception of Aristotle. No emotional involvement. And then Plotinus, he said God radiates love to all. Just like the sun, when we walk outside, the sun is shining equally on everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a gangster, if you're a saint, if you're Brian Tamaki, the sun is shining equally on everyone. And so Plotinus, he says, differences arise from the receptacles, from the receivers themselves, not from the source. And so we can see that the sun is the same. And then, I'm not sure how to pronounce this last one, Epictetus. Epicurus, sounds better. What seems unfair is a misunderstanding of the whole. So we'll come back to that line of thought later. Judaism, we have Moses monotheus. So in the Jewish religion, there's a saying, between Moses and Moses, there is no one like Moses. So this is not Moses of the Old Testament. This is a different theologian called Moses who came later. But between the two Moseses, there's no one like Moses. So God has no human-like emotions like favoritism, etc. And apparent preference is actually the result of a natural and moral law. And the more you align with truth, the more you receive from God. And then Philo, he's quite an interesting personality. God is absolutely perfect and beyond human emotions like favoritism. Martin Buber, God meets each person uniquely. So then we gaze upon Christianity and Saint Justin, who's the patron saint of Christian theology. Each man goes to an everlasting punishment or salvation according to the value of his actions. And then, as we know in prominent Christian thought, we've only got one life to do that, and there's everlasting consequence, so the stakes are high. And in Oregon, God does not punish for the sake of punishment, but for the sake of correction. And the progress of the soul happens over many, many lifetimes. So Oregon actually accepted karma and reincarnation, at least. And then St. Augustine, giving grace to some is mercy, not injustice. So then we'll look at Islam. So absolute justice, the conception is there in the Quran. Not even an atom's weight out of line. And then Al-Ghazali, he is saying God's actions are always just, even if we cannot grasp them. And what looks like favoritism is the ignorance of unseen wisdom. So we've got some quite deep insights here, actually. And then in Buddhism, no God. Karma, cause and effect. So whatever we are reaping is the reaction of our previous actions. No Ishvara, no God. And then Adi Shankaracharya, from the impersonal school of Vedanta, he is saying karma belongs to the realm of avidya, of ignorance, and that action and rebirth, etc., they take place in the Vavahariksata, in the empirical reality, not in the absolute reality. And karma, activities in this world, when we have self-centered enjoyment at the center, they can never lead to liberation, in the conception of Shankaracharya. Also in other Vedic schools they share that same conception on that topic. And the ultimate reality is beyond all dualities, partiality, impartiality, all dualities of this world. So those are a few thoughts from various schools. And then later we'll look a little bit at the synthesis of Bhakti Vedanta, this conception of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So when we're talking about God, first we want to define a little who is God? Is God some formless energy? The light? So there's a very famous verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedanti Tattva Vedastotyam Yajganam Advayam Brahmiti Paramaniti Bhagavaniti Shabdite. Those who have seen the supreme truth, that one non-dual reality, they all agree that it can be experienced in three ways, three dimensions of experience. And so the first one is what's called Brahman, or the impersonal light. And so this is a very common experience actually, that people smoke a joint, or they have some LSD, or they have some meditative experience, and then their consciousness touches upon the light. And then they feel like, oh, this is the complete reality. And so we know that there's a very famous analogy coming from Socrates, but Socrates never wrote anything down, so it's received to us via Plato. And that is the analogy of Plato's cave. And there was a bunch of people living in a cave, and behind them there was a fire burning. They couldn't see the fire, but they could see the shadows dancing on the wall from the fire. And they began to think, because they were there for such a long time, these shadows, this is the reality. And then one day someone from outside the cave comes in and he says, oh, my dear brother, there's a whole reality out here. Come with me. And so what did they say? Oh, no. We are happy here in our illusion. And perhaps you know that one day Indra, the king of heaven, he was cursed to become a hog, a male pig. So he took the form of a male pig, and he was enjoying, as male pigs do, in the mud, eating the food. And then the duration of his curse was coming about to expire, and then Lord Brahma, the oldest living being in this universe, he appeared there on a swan carrier, and he said, oh, Indraji, give up this body of a pig and regain your post in heaven. And then Indra said, oh, no, I'm very comfortable here. Is there any she-hogs in heaven? Is there any mud pools in heaven I can wallow in? And then feeling some pity for Indra, Brahmaji, he sprinkled some water from his kamandalu onto the body of Indra. And then Indra became somewhat purified. And then he realized, oh, what am I doing? I'm the king of heaven, but here I am wallowing around in the mud like in a pig's body. So I should return to my post. So in our conditioned state, we become accustomed to our suffering condition. And because it's familiar, there's a level of comfort in that. And it's so scary to step into the unknown for the conditioned human being. So we'd rather stay in our mentally conceived prison than to step out into the unknown. So, coming back to our analogy of Plato's cave, these people didn't want to go outside. But after some time, he convinced a couple of them to come outside. And so you've been in a very dark cave for a very long time. And now you're coming outside. What's the first thing you would see? Light. Actually, you wouldn't see anything because you'd be blinded by the light because you've been in a dark cave. So when we're coming out of material consciousness, the first aspect of the spiritual reality that we perceive, that is called Brahman, the light. But when your vision adjusts, if you have appropriate method and teacher, then your vision can adjust and you say, oh, there's a whole reality outside of the cave of material existence with spiritual form, spiritual personality. So then that comes to our next realization of this absolute truth, that is called Paramatma, there in the middle. So Paramatma is the localized super soul in the heart of all living beings. And he is the controller and regulator of this universe. So this is God seen with the upadi, with the designation of the material elements. That is Paramatma. And then the Purna, the complete realization of the supreme truth, is called Bhagavan. That means one who possesses 6 bhagas, 6 opulences. And that form of Bhagavan, he has no direct connection with the material energy. So imagine a plane of existence where there's no war, there's no scarcity, there's no lack, there's no tax, no rising fuel price, no food shortage. Everything is abundant. So often in this world, we project our human experience onto the transcendent being. So we think, oh, he must be really old, grey beard, and he must be like some emperor, because an emperor is a powerful person in this world. So we superimpose these qualities onto the transcendent being. And there's forms of Bhagavan like that, but this is not the ultimate realization. So on that plane of existence, Vaikunta, no kunta, anxiety, and the plane of no anxiety, what are the two most prominent qualities there? Any ideas? Bliss? Knowledge? Eternity? Good, very good answers. What would be the most powerful orientating principles in that plane of no anxiety? There's no necessity for power, no necessity for control.
Service, love.
Love and beauty. These are the most powerful principles in the spiritual domain, love and beauty. And who's more beautiful than Krishna, the source of which all beauty has come from? So let's look a little bit now more at Paramatma. Because when we are praying, first let's look at our motivations of prayer. The Vedas always ask, what is your motivation? So, like I shared earlier, we can pray for so many things. Help my child pass his exams, help me find a wife, help me find a husband, help me get a divorce, help me, so many things. So many material things, always moving, always changing. Help me get a new car, help me get another beach house, etc., etc. Help me get liberation. There's a common theme throughout all those prayers. They're all about me. Even the desire for liberation, it's about me. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's about me, yeah? So when we are praying with material motivation, then those prayers, generally speaking, can reach Paramatma. Because Paramatma, he's the indwelling supersoul in your heart, and he hears everything. When you are sleeping at night in the state of Sushupti or Delta state, your Atma, your soul, is disconnected from the Shukshma Sharira, from your subtle body. It's disconnected from the sense of hearing, it's disconnected from the sense of sight. So when your alarm goes off, you don't actually hear your alarm. Paramatma hears your alarm, and then he's like, hey, he instigates for you to wake up. He connects you back to your senses. This is Sankhya philosophy. So there's no one more close to us than the super soul in the heart. So he knows everything. Goham Pravisad Atmanohi, it says in Vedanta Sutra. There's two souls residing in the cave of the heart. Your individual soul, but also the super soul. And this super soul, he's been with you in every incarnation you have ever had. Sometimes as an insect, sometimes as an elephant, sometimes as a fish, sometimes as a demigod, now as a human. Krishna said to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna says, I've spoken this knowledge to the sun god, but it became lost. So again, I am speaking it to you. And then Arjuna was thinking, but we are the same age. And the sun god, that sun god, he was around millions of years ago. So how is it you could speak to him? I'm perplexed. And then Krishna says, you and I have had many births together, Arjuna. I remember all of them, but you do not. This is actually a boon of the Supreme Lord. Because generally speaking, if you remembered who people were in all your previous relationships, that, your cat used to be your husband, and some people might like that, but these things would perturb your mind. So generally speaking, when we take birth in another body, we don't remember our previous karmas, because all our interactions in this life are all karma. Apart from the interactions with Vaishnavas, Shuddha Vaishnavas. So that Paramatma in the heart, he's neutral like a judge. If you are digging a hole and you find gold, yeah, I'm a millionaire. Paramatma's just sitting there neutral like a judge. If you are in your house in the middle of the night and the house is burning down, Paramatma's sitting there neutral like a judge, not getting involved. So this is God in his feature as the regulator of the universe. So he doesn't meddle in our affairs, because we eternally have free will. And in our conditioned state, we don't want to look towards the Lord. We want to enjoy. That's why we're here in the material world in the first, because we have a God complex. I want to be God. Everyone should serve me. Why serve this God, Father? What about me? So we, in our conditioned state, it's so easy to have this kind of conception. So this Paramatma when we move beyond the conception of light, then the yogi realizes Paramatma in the heart, or the super soul. He is a supreme soul, the soul of all souls. And he is the witness, the knower of all. And he is the regulator not just of this universe, but of all universes. So the Vedic cosmology is very deep. I'm not going to go into this today for another few classes. But so Paramatma, he is the regulator of all material universes. Now, if there's a fish swimming in the ocean and a storm comes along and it's raining and there's thunder, the surface of the ocean, it'll be very turbulent. But because the ocean is so deep and so vast, that fish can just swim down to the depths of the ocean and find calmness. But you take that same fish and you put it in a little bowl of water. Any disturbance on the surface of that water, the fish feels it acutely, right? So when our consciousness is in a state of contraction, that's tamagun or rajagun, the lower energies of nature, then whatever happens in that energetic state, we feel it acutely. Sometimes you may wake up on a bright sunny day, you feel really nice, for no particular reason. Yeah? Sure, everyone's had this. And maybe you even stub your toe. It's alright. But then you wake up when you're in a state of contraction, just having a bad day, and then someone looks at you wrong. The mind starts telling so many stories. So when we're in this state of contraction, we cannot understand anything. And we are so absorbed in our tiny little existence. And in our conditioned state, we have such a tendency to believe our own thoughts. Because the mind's always giving a running commentary about whatever's happening around us. And quite often, when we believe our thoughts, if we can really perceive the feeling in the body, there's a state of contraction that goes along with it. So, part of studying the Vedic literature is to understand that we are tiny beings in a very vast creation. And this is not the only creation, but there is unlimited material universes. So the contextual horizon in which we exist expands so much. And conversely, when you are concentrating, focusing on one thing, your mind, your chitta, the most subtle aspect of the psychological body, it begins to expand. So that's why when you enter a state of meditation, of concentration and focus, your contextual horizon, it expands. And then so many things may come in that meditative state, but when you can remain steady and focused, you can handle those things very easily. So, Buddy, do you know where the Japamalas are?
There's a bag in that bottom drawer on the right.
We might do one round of Japana.
There's not, I know there's enough.
In this drawer?
No, the white, where the books are, bottom drawer,
So,
right in.
in this tradition, there is mantra meditation is emphasized, and that has two aspects. We can sing together, like we've done before the start of class, or we can do a personal practice that is called japa meditation, where we chant on a rosary or a mala, and it's a very personal practice. But by being absorbed in the mantra, then our consciousness expands, and there's a direct, pleasant feeling that comes in the body with that. And Abiwatamanaminamino, God is His name. So all this metaphysics, the supreme reality, everything is contained in the name of God, because God is non-different from His name. So now we will chant one round together of this Maha Mantra. For very little people. So, it's maybe not so perceivable on those malas, but generally there's one slightly larger side with larger beads, and then one smaller side. So we start on the larger side, we chant one full repetition of the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we go all the way around till we come back to the top, but we don't chant on this top bead. When we get here, we turn it back around, and we go back. So back. Okay? So let us all chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Mangala Mangalam Vitam Mangala Mangalanam. Krishna's name is the sweetest of the sweet, all auspicious. Now, if anyone chants it knowingly or unknowingly, they get eternal benefit from it. So powerful. So just have a few concluding thoughts for our class now. So, is God partial, and is this universe just? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says there's a plane of harmony that pervades everything. So, is God just or not? How one approaches me, I reciprocate accordingly. So if you approach the Supreme Reality, it's all just atoms in the void, then that's how Krishna will manifest for you. He will not interfere with your free will. If you want to approach the reality as the formless Brahman, Krishna will reciprocate in that way. If you want to approach the Supreme Reality as the Super Soul in the heart, he will respond with Paramatma. But if you want to approach the Supreme Reality with love, pure love, then that affords us the opportunity to meet Krishna, the original supreme form of the Lord. So it's not a question of whether God is cruel or kind. It's about how we are choosing to approach life. And this material world, we're like rough stones in the tumbler, getting polished smooth. Because in our conditioned state, we may have so much lust, greed, anger, envy, etc. So we cannot be in a loving relationship with Krishna when we have these impurities in the heart. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has said that this world is like an anvil, something that they purify gold with. So this question, is God partial, it was actually raised by Maharaj Parikshit in the beginning of the 7th canto. And that's instigated the entire Katara of Prahlad Maharaj. So it appears in the Sastra, in the scriptures, that God is partial. Like the journeying of the milk ocean, and there's different times when the demons and the demigods, they are at war. And then the Devas, they become victorious. And one can see, oh, there's the presence of Vishnu empowering them. So then it seems he has Pakshapat Dosh. He has the fault of being partial. But actually what happens here is these three gunas, these three energies of material nature, they're always in flux. So when the Rajagun is more prominent, then the demons, they are in positions of power. When when the Rajagun, then the demons. When the Sattvagun, then the demigods. And when Tamagun is more prominent in the universe, then it's the pralaya, the devastation. So it's said in the Sastra, sometimes the demigods approach Vishnu, oh, please help us. And Vishnu says, oh, you just have to wait until it's the cosmic timing for Sattvagun to be more prominent. Then you'll regain your position of power. And when the cosmic influence of Sattvagun arises, then because Sattvagun is like a window, at that time the chitta, the mind space becomes clear and you can see the presence of Vishnu. But when Rajagun or Tamagun is more prominent, the mind becomes obscure and at that time you just cannot perceive the presence of Vishnu. So he's still there, he's empowering everything. Not a blade of grass is moving without the will of Vishnu. So everything is going on perfectly, and Gurudev actually says, you have not realized Atma Tattva if you are seeing any problems with this world. And there's a famous verse in the Bhagavatam. Find it. Somewhere. Anyway, this it's Brahma's prayers to Krishna, that this material creation is garlanded with so many problems, and these problems help purify our heart so we can come to the platform of pure love. And Queen Kunti, she's praying in her prayers to Krishna, oh, let more problems come again and again, because when problems are there, then I can remember you. When life's going swell, oh, no need to remember Krishna. But when we're suffering, so many people, they want to search for something deeper in. So, according to Bhakti Vedanta, Vedanta means the end of knowledge, that Krishna is saying about the Bhagavad Gita, there's no truth superior to me, and everything is resting upon me like pearls strung upon a thread. So he is the power behind everything. Nothing is out of place in this universe. Everything is going on by the supreme sanction of Paramatma. And it's for our benefit. Everything rests on Krishna, like Govardhan on his little finger. Now, I want to introduce a term here from Christian theology called apokatastasis. This means that every soul has the opportunity to be delivered. Every soul has the opportunity to be delivered. And this promise was fulfilled during the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He promised one devotee, every soul in this universe will be delivered. So by turning our vision towards the Supreme Lord under the guidance of Sri Guru, then this is the vision that the devotee has. It may be intellectual in the beginning, but gradually as our heart becomes purified, we can realize that, oh, that I'm here in a school, and this school is for my heart to become purified. The more I resist, the longer it will take. And everyone's searching for Krishna. Is it true or not? Oh, this guy's saying that because he's fanatical. Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. He exists eternally. So everyone wants to exist eternally. Everyone wants to live forever. Unless you're really depressed, then you might want to die. But generally speaking, everyone wants to live forever. That's why they have Agenda 50. Upload your consciousness to the cloud and you can live forever. We'll put your body in the cryogenic chamber, and when we have the technology, we'll bring it back out again and download your memories back in. This agenda is going on now. So people, or more Botox, more plastic surgery, people want to exist forever. Krishna exists forever. Everyone wants some knowledge, some awareness. People want someone to be aware of them. No one's more aware than Krishna. And such Ananda. Everyone wants some joy, some bliss, some beauty, some love. So Krishna is the eternal embodiment of these three qualities. He possesses them in full. So everyone, knowingly or unknowingly, they want Krishna. Your soul is also eternal. We also have these qualities in a minute amount, but Krishna has them to the fullest extent. So no one is a demon eternally. We may be covered by the lower material nature for sometimes, maybe for hundreds of thousands of births, but it's nothing in the drop of the eye of eternity. Aprakatastasis. Everyone has the opportunity to turn towards the Lord. And we can begin that process by chanting this mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Krishna, he is waiting, sending so many things to you because he wants to lovingly embrace you. He's waiting for you. So just take one step to Krishna and he'll take 10 steps towards you. So thank you very much. I'll wrap it up there. Thank you for your patience, and just maybe quickly open it up if there's any questions, thoughts, or feedback. So maybe Ananda or Dani would like to add any comments on the subject.
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
We could go into each thing in a lot more detail, but I'm just sort of giving an overview.
You opened up by asking who hears the prayers. So in the case of, not everyone is praying to Krishna. Some are offering the prayers to Christians, they're offering the prayers to someone. Shivites are offering to Shiva, and the gopis are offering to Katyayani, her husband. Krishna hears those ones, but people offer to Durga, offer to different people. So, the question who hears the prayers, is it the personality that you're? Where does the super soul, where does Parama play its part in that one?
Very nice question. So, even before we have a thought, Paramatma's already heard it. He already knows about it. And then Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, those who worship the demigods, they're actually worshipping me, but they're doing it in a misinformed way. And whoever you have faith in, I am giving you that faith to make your mind steady. Puja buddhi. And so, if in one birth, one is turning towards one demigod, it may not be the Supreme Lord, but finally, after unlimited births of being completely self-absorbed, they start to think, oh, maybe there's some higher power. Then this is a step of progress on the journey of their soul. They may not be approaching the Supreme Lord, but now they are thinking, oh, there's something more powerful than myself. So Krishna, because he also reciprocates, then he said in Bhagavad Gita, I give you that faith in which you are worshipping that demigod. And that demigod, they cannot give any benediction without receiving that grace from Krishna in the first place. And when we see with the benediction of so many demonic personalities who worship Shiva, there's always some loophole that actually it's part of Krishna's Leela. And in the case of Shiva, Sadashiva is also Vishnu Tattva. So that's one form of Bhagavan. So there's so many different forms of Bhagavan. And just to give some sort of context between Paramatma and Krishna, is that Krishna only interacts with his Swarup Shakti, his spiritual energy. And the conditioned soul, when we're praying for material things, and when we're praying with our material mind, then Paramatma can hear that because Paramatma hears everything. But Bhagavan, generally speaking, this is a Siddhanta on it, cannot hear that prayer. But Krishna's, we don't want to put Krishna in a box and say he can't do this because that's limiting him. So he has no limitations. But generally speaking, that Krishna only interacts with his spiritual energy. But when we become under the shelter of Guru, he is the abode of that spiritual energy. So when the devotee is under the shelter of Sri Guru, then he's under the shelter of the Mukhya Pravriti of the Kriya Shakti, the primary energy of the Supreme Lord. That's the spiritual energy. And so that's the link to Krishna. But it also depends on what is our motivation. So if any devotee from another religion is praying to Allah, praying to the Christian God, God of the Bible, etc., then we cannot put God in a box. God can hear these prayers, but will he fulfill them or not? That depends on what is good for that soul. Just like as a parent, you know, you don't always discipline your children the same. What's good for one child may be different for the next child. But there's an inherent process in the nature of creation that everything is moving towards further awakening. But sometimes we have to stick our hand in the fire a lot to learn that lesson. But when we have higher class intelligence, then we can learn first class by hearing, and then second class by seeing. So, did that answer your question?
I mean, if you pray to Radharani for service, Paramatma hears it and fulfills that desire for service to Radharani.
If one's under the shelter of Sri Guru, then it's no longer Paramatma in the heart, it's Krishna. So then it's Krishna that's taken over the orchestration of that devotee's life. And now I'll very quickly come to me. You may need to be purified a little bit. So I'll just, Balaram Prabhu, he's got the plough, right? A pestle. He's purifying the heart. So when one's under the shelter of the Guru Tattva, then it's no longer Paramatma, it's Krishna. Perhaps in the form of Balaram Sri Guru.
We're praying to Radharani. Not Radharani who fulfills the desire.
I cannot give you the conclusion on that one. Anyone else got some thoughts on that one?
Well, if you're under the shelter of Guru, then your prayers to Radharani are governed by the spiritual energy, right? The more direct, according to our qualification, our own spiritual qualifications, that spiritual position, then Krishna will, or Radharani in this case, would answer correctly.
I mean, our whole Rupanuga Guru Parampara, they're all the manjaris of Srimati Radharani. So whatever instruction, mercy, guidance we're receiving from them, even just reading the book, we can say that's the Kripa Shakti of Radharani already coming. Because that Kripa Shakti has taken the form of all of our acharyas. And so whatever they're writing, whatever their instruction, whatever their guidance, that's the Kripa Shakti of Radharani coming to us. So we can be purified, so we can go to Golaka Vrindavan and serve her lotus feet, Gokul, and serve her lotus feet. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada has actually said in one of his purports that all of our Gaudiya Guru Parampara, they are either the expansion of Nityananda Prabhu, or they are the maidservants of Srimati Radhika. So often first that Guru Tattva comes as Balaram Prabhu, pierces the heart, and then the deeper essence of the Guru Tattva reveals itself. Oh, they are manjaris of Srimati Radhika. Anything else?
I was going to say, quite a common complaint is that, so being the devil's advocate here,
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
they say, well, if there's a God, why did he create the world with so much suffering? And why do that? Isn't that just cruel? Everyone's suffering at different degrees. Even Jesus, purified person, very saintly person was put up on the cross.
I thought about talking about this topic.
This is really confusing, and therefore I think that I'll just be an atheist.
Yeah.
Because
Let's ask.
everything's an accident, obviously, because
Kartyalan
nothing
dualism of epiphenomena.
If this God of love, then why is so much suffering in his world if he created this world?
Okay, so if we're starting from the platform of being a complete atheist, then there's another class called Achyuta Siddhanta, or infallible dialectics, which is the process of natural theology, which, using logic and rationale, absolutely will bring us to the platform that there is a all-powerful supreme being, and whether your conception is the ultimate reality is formless, or with form, an irreducible simplex, the base atom, through natural theology, 100% through that scientific investigation, you'll arrive at the conclusion that there must be a supreme being. What is the nature of that supreme being? That is the topic of revealed theology. So we won't go into that now, but we've established there must be a supreme being. What is his nature? Is he cruel or is he kind? This is the question. So another question is, why did God create this world? So everything that Krishna does is only out of love. It is only out of love. Well, then you say, well, I'm not feeling that love, I'm suffering. Krishna only interacts with his spiritual energy. So what is the primary reason he creates this universe? It's because in a previous creation, some of his devotees, they weren't quite ripe yet to come to the spiritual world. So then, Mahavishnu, who breathes in, and then there's the pralaya, and the devastation, and all the universes, they are withdrawn back into the body of Mahavishnu, there on the right. And so that there's a rest period, and then he breathes out again, and the creation happens. The reason he does that is because he's feeling some separation from that devotee. Oh, my devotee, I want to interact with them, but they're not quite ripe to come to the land of pure love. They need a little bit more correction in the purification in the material world. So then that's why he manifests the creation incidentally. So the analogy is given, you want to cook some food, and in traditional times you'd like the fire in your kitchen, and the primary reason is to cook the food, right? But incidentally, the whole room becomes warm from the heat of the fire. So the primary reason is to cook the food. The primary reason is Krishna's feeling separation from his devotee, so he makes creation. Incidentally, all the souls who are in Maya, who are turned away from God, they are undergoing their karmas. That is like the room becoming warm. And Krishna's not involved directly in that. Paramatma is involved, but Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he's God of love. He's not involved in that. So those souls, they are only reaping the fruits, the seeds that they themselves have sown. But inherent within that is Krishna has orchestrated it in such a way that there can be purification of the heart. But if they want to stay there forever, also that opportunity is there. So that is the primary reason of why Krishna creates this world, only out of love of his devotees. So we may think, oh, okay, I've got to purify my heart so I can serve this tyrant in heaven. What sort of God is this? But actually, what's God doing in the spiritual world? He's only serving his devotees. He's only serving Arjuna as his chariot driver. As Sudama Brahman, he gave him everything, palace, everything, just for some chip rice. So in the spiritual world, he's taking the cows out to graze, he's playing with his cowherd friends, he's having a picnic with them, he's playing as the son of Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba. He's only serving the desires of his devotees. And the desires of his devotees, they are higher than his own desire. He will say, Mahabharata war, I will not fight. But out of love for his devotee, he fought. So Krishna only acts out of love of his devotee. But when we come down the levels of God, then there's different tattva. So that's why Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj used to say there's a Siddhanta for the Kanistam, Siddhanta for the Madhyam, and a Siddhanta for the Uttamadhika. So depending on our angular vision, and Gurudev actually made the comment here, like, talking about this topic, who hears our prayers, that this is the Siddhanta on the topic. And it may feel, oh, this is a bit harsh to hear. But he says it only feels harsh for the Pranista Madhika, or when we have desires to still enjoy and exploit this world. When we don't have those desires, then this world is perfect. Because Om Purnamidam Purnamida Purnamidachite Purnasya Purnamadeva Vashishyate. Whatever is emanated from the Supreme Lord is perfect. The Supreme Lord is perfect. Everything coming from him is perfect. So this world also comes from the Supreme Lord. So therefore it's also perfect. No fault in this world. What's the fault? Is our vision. Is there suffering here? Yes. Can we do things to make it better? Absolutely. But we have to understand what this world is. It's not Swarga. This is the middle planetary system. There will always be chaos and calamity on this planet. And our home is not here. Our home is Braja. And Srimati Radhika sends her mercy here through our acharyas to remind us, come home. Anadya Vidya Yuktasya. Since beginningless time we've been turned away. And Krishna is sending so many books, so much prasadam, so many gurus over many, many lifetimes. But we're like, no. So Ramanuja Acharya, he uses the example that the rain's falling everywhere, but the different seeds sprout differently. So God's mercy is pouring everywhere, but if we have our umbrella up and not one drop is coming on us, that's our fault. It's hard to hear. And I totally understand your question, and it seems totally legit, like there's a lot of suffering, but we have to get out of the duality to understand, and that's why Vedanta Tattva Vedastajam Yajgana Advaya, that the reconciliation happens beyond the dualities of when that pendulum between the good and bad, and we cannot understand. So that's why we have to at least come to the level of sattva, and then from there akagrita. And Patanjali has said, yoga only happens in the state of akagrita, and about one-pointed concentration. Krishna says it in the Bhagavad Gita. Akagrita cetasa, Arjuna, have you heard my instructions with one-pointed attention? And so that's why we have to sit down, chant every day, and switch off our phone. Just let this world carry on and just be absorbed in the holy name in Krishna. And then we can start to get some perspective and expand our contextual horizon. Otherwise, we'll always have this mentality, I want to enjoy this world, and somehow or other, I want this world to be a better place. And it's natural, I get it. Like, who doesn't want it? Well, like, we all want it to be a better place. Then we're drifting from the siddhanta of what this world actually is also. But paradoxically, by turning to Krishna, this world can become a beautiful place. So, those are some thoughts. Thank you for the question. Good questions, because we all have these thoughts, we all have these doubts.
Yeah. A lot of people expect that.
Yeah. But this topic of natural theology and revealed theology that's a very foundational one. And if we can integrate that one, then you can approach any person, even Richard Hawkins, anyone, and establish the premise that there must be a supreme being. And then what is the nature of that supreme being? Then you need a non-material approach for that resolution. Thank you.
When we turn away from God,
Mhm.
we try to enjoy material energy, when we suffer karmic reactions.
Anything we do for our own motivation, that's karma.
Even though the suffering is there, we understand it. Is that what you're saying? Even though if the suffering doesn't necessarily stop?
No, like, Sure does.
Obviously Jesus Christ suffered.
Srila Narayan Babaji Maharaj, he answered this question in this way. Suffering happens at the level of mind. Of course there's physical pain, right? Cut yourself, that's on the physical level. But suffering, this happens at the level of mind. And so that's why it says in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana Madbhakto.
So
Always.
Jesus Christ wasn't suffering.
Well,
No, because his mind is purified.
Bhakti dissolves your chitta. It dissolves the subtle body. So the pure devotee has no mind, no material mind.
Pure.
They have a spiritual mind, but there's no material mind, because the expansion and the contraction of the chitta, the expansion, that is sukha, happiness. And the contraction, that is dukkha, du, akash, su, akash. Su, lightened, expanded sky, and du, condensed sky. So when you feel happy and expanded, this is the beauty of Sanskrit. It metaphorically describes what's happening, is that your chitta is expanded, sukha,
Material.
and dukkha, it's contract, and you feel the pain, mentally, physically, emotionally. But when you have no chitta, and so Krishna, he has dukkha gyan, but no dukh anubhav, which means he has the knowledge of suffering, but he has no dukh anubhav, means he has no experience of suffering, because no material experience has ever entered him. So if I take a pin and I go like that, because you've felt a pin prick before, right? But Krishna will see that, he'll just be smiling. He's never experienced that suffering. But so this is where Guru Tattva comes in. Because Guru Tattva, they have that's the medium because Krishna doesn't have that. But Guru, oh yes, I remember what it was like to be suffering in the material world. So I'll help this jiva. So Kripa Shakti is coming through the devotees of the Lord. Whether they're Christian, Islam, Vaishnava, whatever. Because there's only one Supreme Lord. He has many names. And his pure devotees, they are the vehicle through which God's mercy comes to us. These things aren't easy to digest. And Paramahamsa Babaji in Jaiva Dharma, he actually says to Vaishnavas, stop with your questions. I'm not saying this to you, but stop with your questions and just go and chant. Because you're going around in your mind, which we all do, and Like it's natural, and we should contemplate these things and sharpen the axe of Tattva-gyan. Because Krishna says to Uddhava in the 11th canto, sharpen this axe of Tattva-gyan so you can be free. And then put that axe down and relish my sweetness. But sometimes we get too much caught up on a loop and we can't reconcile it. We need Sadhu Sangha for that transmission. But sometimes we just need to sit and chant, and then some revelation can come. But thank you for the questions, and we should all more questions is good. Thank you very much, everyone, and now we have Arti and Kirtan. Hare Krishna.